Hi everyone. So today we are going to focus on factoring trinomials and binomials. We're not really learning anything new. We're just kind of making things slightly harder. So pause the video and try the do now. So these are the three different factoring problems that we've learned how to do. The first one is GCF. And we know that because if you notice there's x's everywhere and it's a binomial. So what's the biggest number that goes in a 36 and 24? So that's 12. And then what's smaller, x or x squared? X. So we divide, and we get 3x plus 2. The second one, that's our multiply combine. We know that because there are three terms, and there's nothing in front of x squared. So in this one, we are multiplying to negative 30. Combining to a positive 1. Remember, there's that invisible 1 in front. That's 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't work, 5 and 6. And since we are subtracting, multiplying to a negative, we need a negative. So the negative 5 and 6 gives me a 1. X minus 5, x plus 6. All right, and then the last one, that's our dots. It's a binomial, two terms, and perfect squares. So what times itself is 4x squared? 2x times 2x. What times itself is 25? 5 and 5. Make 1 plus, 1 minus. All right, so let's do some more practice on this. Pause the video, do these on your own. All right, so number 1, that's a GCF. Now I gave you that because it kind of looks like a dots because the 9 is a perfect square. But because this x is here, it has to be a GCF. Because nothing times itself is just an x. So we divide, we get x minus 9, parentheses x. So look at that one, and then look right below it at number 3. Look how similar those are. So number 1 is the GCF. Number 3 is the dots because it doesn't have an x. Perfect square minus perfect square. So this one is your x times x, 3 times 3, plus minus. So it's really important to recognize the difference. Number 1, x is everywhere. Number 3, we don't have x's anywhere. There's no GCF. All right, number 2, what multiplies to negative 55? Combines to negative 54. This one's pretty easy. It's 1 and 55. Since we're combining to negative 54, the 55 is negative. So x plus 1, x minus 55. And then number 4, we're multiplying to 90, combining to negative 33. 1 times 90, 2 times 45, and 3 times 30, that gives us our 33. But what do we need? Since it's a negative 33, we need negatives. We're multiplying to a positive, combining to a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. X minus 3, x minus 30. All right, one more slide of practice for factoring, then we're going to introduce the new vocabulary term. All right, so pause the video, try it on your own. What multiplies to negative 48? Is this fact? This might not be factor. Oh no, 4 and 12. 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12. Now we're multiplying to a negative, so we need a negative. Again, this is 3 terms. And there's nothing in front of x squared. That's important. There's nothing there. Number 6, same idea. And notice it's a 48 again. So now I'm going to just use that same table. Which two of those adds up to 14? Oh, I actually didn't write it. 6 and 8. And because we're multiplying to a positive this time, we're going to make both of them negative. X minus 6, x minus 8. All right, so now look at 7 and number 8. One of them's GCF and one of them's dots. Which one is which? Actually, I have a mistake in here. I made an error when I did this problem. I wanted this to have a y in it. I meant it to be, you could just combine those together. This was supposed to be y squared, like that. Sorry about that. Otherwise, it wasn't factorable. You just subtract. You would have had 51 x squared. So what I meant was this. So that's a factoring. So that's a dots because you can't divide by anything. So for this one, what times itself is 100x squared. 10x times 10x. What times itself is 49y squared. 7y, 7y. Plus and minus. My dog is being really loud right now. I hope she's not bothering you guys. All right, and then last one, x is everywhere, GCF. So we have 30 and 48. I think that's a 6. And then the smaller x, x to the third, x to the third. Divide, and you get 5x squared plus 8. I'm laughing because of my dog. Just drinking water, and that's what I get for doing work in the kitchen. All right, so if you hadn't changed number 7, you could have just simplified to that. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we have one more vocabulary term, and that's factoring completely. Factoring completely is when you have to factor twice. We always start with a GCF first, and then we factor again using one of the other methods. So either the MC chart or dots. All right, so it depends on the problem. So factoring completely, you always start with a GCF, but then you have to look at what's left over and factor again. All right, so look at number 9. It's factoring completely. Now you can't use the MC chart here. Why not? Because there's a 2 in front. Remember, the MC chart, you can't have a number in front of x squared. So because that 2 is there, we have to divide. So what's the GCF? Is it 2 or is it 2x? It's just 2 because the 18 doesn't have anything with it. So we're just going to divide everything by 2. So x squared plus 8x minus 9. Now we have an MC chart. We multiply to -9. Combined to +8. 1 times 9, we make our 1 negative. So we get x minus 1, x plus 9, but then there's one last step. Remember GCF, we divided by the 2, so we're going to put the 2 back in front. All right, pause the video. See if you can do number 10 on your own. Remember, GCF first. So my GCF, 3, 6, and 45 is 3. But then notice there's x's everywhere, so I'm going to take the smallest x. So I divide x squared minus 2x minus 15. So now that's a trinomial. That's my MC chart again. So we're multiplying to -15, combining to -2. 1 times 15, 2 doesn't work, 3 and 5. It's 3 and 5. So I'm multiplying to a negative. The bigger number needs to be negative since we're combining to a negative. That gives me a -2. So we get x plus 3, x minus 5. And then just like before, don't forget we have to put our GCF in the front. So it always starts with a GCF. No matter what, no matter what you're factoring, you should always try for that GCF first. And then look at what's left over and see if you can factor again. All right, so same idea for these. Do a GCF and then look at what's left over. So pause the video, do it on your own. So for number 11, I have a GCF of 10. When I divide, what's left? X squared minus 4. X squared minus 4, that's a dots. Subtraction and perfect squares. So we've got x times x is x squared. 2 times 2 is 4. 1's plus, 1's minus. And then don't forget to put the 10 in the front. 12 is the hard one. What is the GCF there? I think it's just 2x. I feel like 18 and 32 should have a bigger number, but I think it's just 2. All right, because 18 divided by 2 is 9. The x's cancel. Minus 16x squared. That's a dots again. Perfect square minus perfect square. Notice the order. Order is important here. 3 times 3 is 9. 4x times 4x is 16x squared. Plus minus GCF in the front. And that's it. All right, last slide. 4 more problems. Number 16 is hard. That's like that's for the, my A plus students. So, but do your best with it, but it is a little tricky, okay? All right, so number 13, we have a GCF of -2. Typically, you want to check what's in front of x squared. X squared minus 27x plus 50. So we're multiplying to 50, combining to -27. 1 times 50, 2 times 25. So it's the 2 and the 25. They both need to be negative to give me a -27. So x minus 2, x minus 25. Throw that -2 in front. All right, 14. Again, start with your GCF. What's the GCF here? 17x. This one's a little hard. It's not that it's hard. It's almost overly easy, so it makes it confusing. All right, if you divide 17's cancel, x cancels. So we have x squared minus, what's 17 divided by 17? 1. Don't forget, that's a 1. And then x squared minus 1, that's dots. X plus 1, x minus 1. And then put that 17x in front. All right, number 15. GCF, again, always start with your GCF. Let's see what we get. 13 and 13, x to the 4th. We get x plus 2. What's the second factoring we're going to do? Nothing. We're done. Look at this. X plus 2, you can't do anything to that. That's just a linear. That's like, it's linear because it has an exponent of 1. So you're done there. All right. This one's the hard one. All right. What is your GCF here? So notice there's y's in both of them. And then here's the thing that gets kids. Kids always forget about the 9. 9 goes into 9. 9 goes into 36. So when we divide, we get 4x squared. And then just like in number 14, 9y divided by 9y is 1. That's perfect squares again. 4 and 1, subtraction. 2x times 2x plus 1 minus 1. And then don't forget your 9y in the front. That's challenging. That's definitely the hardest. All right, and that was our lesson. So homework number 8. Have a fabulous day.